Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Haven't made one in a while since that last one about comics. I'm going to switch gears here and talk about music a little bit here. Like I said, I haven't been making a lot of videos lately just because they don't seem to be going anywhere. However, some stuff I just kind of want to get down on video, or just have a kind of a record of it, just so I can kind of remember it myself in the future. This might be of interest to people. I found more times than not I was doing a lot of head scratching and a lot of I didn't know that. What I'm talking about specifically is certifications, meaning if an album is certified gold, silver, platinum, diamond, how many and what that means. Actually, you could look it up. And I'm not going to get into a big history on what exactly certification is, but specifically what I wanted to talk about was bands that I like. Now, the first thing I want to mention is I watched a video recently by somebody. It's not that I don't want to mention his name, I just can't remember him off the top of my head. But he did a video basically talking about the top 10 most popular, most successful bands according to album sales. Now, he was also talking about not just certified album sales, but album sales in general. And I believe he said he got most of his information from Wikipedia. So take it for what it is. Wikipedia is not always right, but I think I did go on there just out of curiosity, just to I didn't get that deep into it, but I just wanted to know specifically albums by bands that I like and what they did as far as certification, or did they certify at all. And I was really taken aback by some of the numbers. It leads me to a lot of conclusions. So we're going to talk about my 4 favorite bands. If anybody doesn't know, if you haven't watched my other videos, my personal all 4 favorite bands all started in the 70s. All, for the most part, had their heyday in the 70s, because I just love the 70s rock sound. I'm not necessarily a heavy metal fan. I'm not necessarily a prog rock fan. But I would say just overall, I love rock. Rock guitar, rock drums, rock bass, rock singing. I just like rock and roll. And I really love the sound of the 70s. I just find it the most pure, the most non-compressed, because I don't even think they even had compression then. Straight, limited effects, if any. A lot of people use phasers. This is back when flanging of the tape was done to get the flange effect. But as far as actual guitar effects, most people were using a wah pedal, some kind of fuzz, either an overdrive or distortion pedal. Big muffs were popular. The fuzz face was popular, and pretty much people would use the Echoplex, which was a Maestro pedal. Electro-Harmonix was big. They had a big muff pedal. I think I mentioned that, but they also had a lot of other echo effects. So you got a lot of delays. You've got phasers, and you've got reverb, essentially. However, most of the time the reverb was natural reverb. And a lot of guys didn't even do that. A lot of guys had Marshall stacks. Marshall stacks kind of became the de facto amplifier for most people, although there were others that were popular. Taking a Les Paul, not that that's a real Les Paul, but taking a Les Paul, or a Gibson SG or whatnot, and just plugging it straight into a Marshall stack, and that's it. That's their sound, So I personally like that. I like simplicity. I like that's better, And then when they do get some kind of more ethereal sounds or some kind of more spacey sounds, they're limited effects. So again, that's not what the video is about, but I just wanted to mention that. So my top 4 bands of all time. Number 1 all-time favorite band is Rush. And specifically the Rush in the 70s. I mean, I love Moving Pictures, which we'll talk about that album. and I like albums in the 80s. I love Grace Under Pressure. I like Signals. I love Presto, although it's not a popular album, just because it came out when I was in high school, and and I went to that tour, the Presto tour. I had gone to the Hold Your Fire Power Windows tour, which is essentially the Show of Hands from '87. Also did that in high school, but the albums were already out by then. Rush is hands down my favorite band, and specifically, like I said, that '70s sound. They had Alex Lifeson. And that's the thing about Rush too. I just want to say this is outstanding as Neil Peart is, and as outstanding as Geddy is on bass, right? I mean, they're known for being masters of their craft and being, a drum god, bass god, right? I find, and I'm going to point out why, when we look at these certifications, how underrated Alex Lifeson is. And I personally, because, the 80s sound, I was kind of into it when I was in high school in the 80s. And, I liked him, but I just, it's like, he uses a lot of effects, and stuff's not super great. But then when you go back and you listen to the old stuff, and even now, being older and being able to appreciate that stuff, just how awesome and how innovative he was. Sure, he was borrowing a lot of stuff from, Led Zeppelin, from Cream. I mean, but he did his own thing, and, it stands alone on its own if you listen to it. Go listen to Crest Steel. As much as that album gets hate, listen to the guitar on that album. Listen to the guitar on Fly By Night's a great one. 2112, A Farewell with the Kings, Hemispheres. We're not even to Moving Picture. We're not even to Permanent Waves yet. And this stuff is just insane. So, Rush, number one band. Second favorite band, Blue Oyster Cult. Blue Oyster Cult to me is an adjective, meaning I judge a movie, or I judge just an image, and just what I'm seeing with my eyes, or is that's very Blue Oyster Cult. You know what I mean? I can watch a movie and go, that's a very Blue Oyster Cult movie. I can just literally see I could be driving down the road and pass like a cemetery or a park, or a church, at a certain time of day with a certain sunset, right, or a certain look, or even at night, and just looking at what I'm seeing out the window of the car, or walking, if I'm walking or on my bike or whatever, I say that, like, that, what I'm seeing with my eyes is very Blue Oyster Cult. Does that make any sense? Blue Oyster Cult just has to me, it has a feel, it's a vibe, it's a lot of a lot of layered things that have nothing to do with music. Sure, some of it might be indicative to album covers, or just, Heavy Metal magazine, Heavy Metal the movie, that time period, the 70s. I mean, just so many things. California, the deserts in California. Everything, all that stuff just reminds. It's all Blue Oyster Cult to me. Upstate New York, Blue Oyster Cult. So they're my second favorite band. And again, you want to talk about underrated. Blue Oyster Cult, highly underrated band. As influential as they are, and as popular as they are, they're very underrated, and they are the epitome. It's in the name. They are a cult band, and they have a cult following to their music, and it seems like that might be the operative word to all of the music that I like. Is I like bands that have a cult following. I'm that way with movies. I like cult movies. I like cult TV shows. I like cult movies that appeal to a certain person, and it's definitely not the majority, and not what's the most popular. In fact, sometimes, you think about cult movies, a lot of cult movies bomb at the box office. So, but there's a lot of people that love that movie. Big Trouble Little Blade Runner, Big Trouble Little China. I mean, mean, there's a lot of movies that are cult classics. A lot of the movies I love, cult classics. The third favorite band is Cheap Trick. Again, also from in the 70s. Rick Nielsen, I love Rick Nielsen's guitar player. Somebody pointed out in my comments on one of my videos, about Rick Nielsen wanting to write music that's relatively easy to play so he could have a lot of fun playing it and fun on stage and whatnot. And to me, there is no pretentiousness with Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick is a fun band. They were touted, I think Rolling Stone called them the ultimate party band. I mean, they are the band. If you want to have fun, you want to listen to some fun music, and you don't want to be bogged down with seriousness, or pretentiousness, but you don't want to go so bare bones, like you don't want to rebel against anything. You're not like into punk rock, or you're not like, I hate hair metal, so I'm going to listen to Nirvana. Everything aside, put everything, all of your bad vibes, man, put them all aside, and you just want to have a blast. Cheap Trick's the band. Again, the sound, Nielsen playing, I've been playing a gazillion guitars, but, having the guitar tone he had and how he played, especially in the 70s. I mean, their 80s stuff was okay, Lap of Luxury being the big comeback, and that was good, but really, and here's the other thing, is Cheap Trick's body of work was very small in their heyday. And they were probably the youngest band out of my 4 favorite bands. And then, of course, my 4th favorite band, I'm going to push, Yes would normally be in there, but I'm going to push Yes aside for now, just because I'm talking about certain bands with very similar kind of straight-up rock. Yes, they're like the grandfathers of progressive rock, and they are in a league of their own, and like I said, I want to put aside, Rush is always considered a prog rock band, and Blue Oyster Cult's considered heavy metal, which it's not. It's considered prog rock, which it's not. I want to put Yes aside, because Yes has a completely different sound to my 4 bands that I'm talking about. And of course, my 4th favorite band that I will include on this list is Kiss. I've watched my Kiss videos. I kind of said what I said as far as my personal liking of Kiss. But for me also, too, is we're going to cast aside the 80s, the unmakeup years. They don't really exist to me. In the latter end of the makeup years, whether it's Unmasked, Creatures Night's okay album, The Elder, I've been trying to give it a couple listens to, not much, but even Dynasty, I kind of, I would say in the early album, the early stuff too, the raw sounds, I like it, but I can see that why it wasn't, over the top. Basically, it's anything from Kiss Alive to, meaning Destroyer, and we'll get into these albums too, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun. Pretty much those 3 studio albums, and then of course Kiss Alive 2. I like Kiss Alive 1, and I like the first 3 albums, but for me it's that second gen, that second, grouping of 3 with a capped off the live album, and capped off with the solo albums, and capped off with the greatest hits, double platinum, and we'll get into platinum, double platinum as well. So, okay, I spent 15 minutes building this video up, so now I gotta get delivered. I got my notes here. So what I was doing is, I when I saw that guy's video, I said, hey, I want to go through and I want to look up and see what certified, what didn't. I started with the Rush, and I started noticing, basically I was just trying to see what album had the most certification, or had the most albums sold, and obviously I knew it was going to be Moving Pictures, which it is. Moving Pictures did, I think it's 5 times platinum in the United States, which is a lot. It's not diamond, and it's not like, we're not talking, Rolling Stones here. We're not talking, Led Zeppelin here. We're talking a very big, underrated band. Extremely underrated. But they sold a lot of albums. 2112 was, I don't know if it still is, but for the longest time, 2112 had always been my favorite album. And I think it still is, but that's number 2. And then Permanent Waves. I'm not going to go through all of their albums. I kind of cut it off when it comes to Presto, because I don't like anything from the 90s. I know Presto's still the 80s. I don't like anything from the 90s. I didn't like Roll the Bones. I didn't like Counterparts. But the thing that I also noticed was weird was, if you look at the numbers, I just assumed, just because, Rush is popular, that the other, even though I personally didn't like him, and it's all subjective, like Counterparts, everybody says, oh, it's the best, that's one of the greatest albums. Not as far as album sales, it wasn't. Roll the Bones, oof, I think Roll the Bones actually outsold Counterparts. Test for Echo was way down there. Vapor Trails was almost non-existent. And I thought, Clockwork Angels, how did that do? It's their last album, right? It seemed to be big. A lot of people went to the concert. It's the lowest selling album of all of them. So it leads me to believe that most Rush fans, including the people who were there at the very last concert, they ever played for the for the Clockwork Angels tour, everybody was there to hear Moving Pictures. They're here to hear Tom Sawyer. They want to hear Limelight. The problem is, though, is towards the end, these are, 2112. There's a lot of songs they wanted to go to listen to with Rush at the end of the heyday that Geddy Lee just could not. He couldn't. I love the guy to death, but he couldn't deliver those songs at the very end. It seems like it would be much better just to listen to his stuff from the later stuff, because obviously he had to adjust his voice as he went through the later albums. But I guess, it's proofs in the pudding that, as far as record sales go, yes, it seems like, and, Presto didn't do that great either. But I think if you looked at it, you could tell everybody's favorite stuff was the 70s up to Moving Pictures. Signals and Grace Under Pressure did okay. But once you started getting to Power Windows, actually, what's weird is Hemispheres did the same as Power Windows. I thought that was kind of weird, because that's considered a great album, but, everybody loves Moving Pictures. Everybody loves 2112. Permanent Waves. You got Spirit of the Radio on there. Free Will. I was surprised that A Farewell to the Kings was number 4 on my list. Like I said, this isn't a top 10 video, and I'm not going over the best albums of Rush. I'm just saying what I found. I just happened to put them in order that way, just as I was writing them down. And I was curious to know that, but that's not what I initially set out to look at. But that said, if you were to take all of this, every single album they did, there's not one album that Rush has ever put out that was never certified. That's a big thing. That is a serious thing when it comes to, especially when you look at the other 4 bands, and you look at bands like Kiss, who took Rush under their wing, took them on tour in their heyday, and Kiss had just had their final supposedly 50-year, concert, and, as you think Kiss ruled the world, when it comes to album sales, no, they didn't. Rush, I'm not going to say they trounced them, but Rush, yes, they did. They trounced them. With Kiss, one thing you gotta say about Kiss, though, let's just go up to Creatures of the Night, right? Kiss did certify. Destroyer is their best-selling album, and it only did 2 times platinum. It's double platinum. Hence the name when they made their their live album, or sorry, their best of album, their compilation album that they did in '78, double platinum. It's true. Not every song on that album, though, was double platinum, but Destroyer was double platinum. But that's interesting to know, because Rush, Moving Pictures, 5 times platinum. Kiss's best-selling album's Destroyer, and it does double platinum. Here's my opinion. I love Kiss, right? I love that Kiss. I have my opinions about the band members. I have opinions about all of it, right? Love them or hate them, I like those albums, and I love the gimmick. I love the makeup. I like the Phantom of the Park. I love the Kiss dolls. I love that whole thing. I mean, that was my first favorite band of all time. When I was in kindergarten in 1978, that was like my first band. And the thing is, and I know the Kiss Army is strong, and I know you guys all come in and just yell at me for you can't speak ill will of your whatever, your gods. I love them just as much as you guys do, but I don't have any issue to speaking my mind or telling you what I think. And I find that Kiss is, sorry guys, they're very overrated. They're overrated by the fans, meaning so specifically the Kiss Army. I think they're a cult following. I mean, they think that, and this is also going to seem kind of counterintuitive when I start talking about Blue Oyster Cult, or it's going to sound hypocritical when it comes to Blue Oyster Cult. But I find that Kiss is overrated in regards to the fans. I find that Kiss seems to, but the biggest people that overrate Kiss, and this is where I find that this is where probably a lot of the negative attitudes towards, just like Gene and Paul is, Kiss is overrated by Kiss. But I mean, that's how they made it, though, is by overselling themselves. They would say, we got the greatest rock experience. We're the king of the, it's like when like a wrestler, does a shtick. It says, I'm the best wrestler in the world. You know what I mean? Or, a fighter. I'm the best boxer in the world. I'm the best whatever. And they would do this big hype. That's what Kiss did, and it worked for them. I mean, it sold albums. Obviously, they've certified every album on my list. I don't know about all of them, but I think they have all certified. I think I didn't really look at the '90s, like Psycho Circus. I didn't look at. I think I stopped at. I can't remember. Was it Razor's Edge? Is that? No, that's AC/DC. This is how much I don't know the later Kiss albums. I know Lick It Up, Animalize, Hot in the Shade, whatever. I think they all still certified. So that's a testament in and of itself, just like Rush. But here's the thing. Everybody always consider Rush, Rush is a much better band than Kiss by a landslide, And I think when Geddy Lee says about Kiss, he's like, you can say what you want about their music. They are a hardworking band who really wants to put on a good show, and I 100% agree with that. And I think that's great. But clearly, Rush is hands down, immensely better musicians, and it's only 3 guys. And as far as like the bickering and all the drama that Kiss has gone through, there was none of that really. With none of it at all for the most part with Rush. I mean, once Rutsey was out at the very beginning and Peart was in, I mean, it was those 3 guys for 40 years straight. 50 years straight almost. I mean, I guess if you exclude 39 or 49 years, if you want to exclude the Rutsey years. Yeah, I mean, hands down, like I said. But that's interesting to know, because I was just under the impression that Kiss, because of how popular they are, that they were, doing, diamond sales, and, Kiss the king of the world, on top of the world. And it's just like, were they? Because, I mean, like, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, I mean, Led Zeppelin, those bands went diamond. hell, what's her face? Don't ask me what's going on. I'm talking about Cult. Taylor Swift, the Swifties, that cult. That's a... I don't understand it. I mean, I kind of understand it, but I don't truly understand it. That is a cult. And, you know, as far as her record sales are just... I mean, I think she's... I don't know if she's beat out Michael Jackson yet. I think she's beat out the Beatles, I think. I can't remember. I think he did, as far as record sales. She's beat out the Beatles. I don't think anybody's beat out Michael Jackson's Thriller album. I think that still is the best selling album of all time. I looked it up just the other day. It was like 72 times platinum. Some astronomical number, like 6 times diamond or 3 times diamond or whatever. It's like, wow, Jesus Christ. Yeah, nobody's going to be touching that anytime soon. I don't even think... Maybe Taylor Swift is close to it. I don't know. I actually didn't look up Taylor Swift's numbers. I should. I just have zero. Outside of her legs, I have zero interest in her whatsoever. So, on to Blue Oyster Cult. Now, Blue Oyster Cult, again, is a weird band because they didn't certify. I'm going to look at their first 10. These are all studio albums, by the way. I don't think outside of Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2, just because they're kind of, I consider them studio albums. And I guess, like, ETI Live and On Your Feet or On Your Knees should be included in this as well. But I'm just looking at studio albums, sorry. Blue Oyster Cult, out of their top 10 albums, because I'm not going to count Imaginos. Imaginos really isn't a Blue Oyster Cult album. I'd say Club Ninja, for the most part, is the last true Blue Oyster Cult album up till... Well, I would say yeah, because the newer ones aren't really... Even though I think they had different bass player and different keyboardist, I think on Club Ninja as well. I guess Fire of Unknown Origin, really? That's the last true Blue Oyster Cult, the original lineup? But anyways, we're going to go up to Club Ninja. Club Ninja also, you know, notoriously being the worst, once they sang the worst Blue Oyster Cult album. In the 80s, or sorry, in the late 80s when I really got into Blue Oyster Cult, yes, I like Club. I love the album cover, and I love just loved saying Club Ninja. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. But yeah, the album is not that great. But if you're looking at, and again, this is not which album's the best album of Blue Oyster Cult, but their debut album, Blue Oyster Cult, with, you know, what do you call it? A City's on Flame with Rock and Roll, never certified. To this day, never certified. Interesting. Tyranny and Mutation, right? Red and the Black. I can't remember. Is Transmagnicon MC on there? I think so. Never certified. Hot Rails to Hell's on there. Seven Screaming Dizbusters. A lot of great, awesome songs live. Never certified. It's not their top-selling album, but it's considered by most Blue Oyster Cult fans to be the best Blue Oyster Cult album is Secret Treaties, and I agree with that. Even though I do really like Fire of Unknown Origin, and I would say that's my personal favorite, but it's not the best Blue Oyster Cult album. I would definitely say the best Blue Oyster Cult album is Secret Treaties. That one charted. That charted. I think it did... It didn't even do platinum. It did gold. Agents of Fortune is the first album that went platinum. And that's obviously Agents of Fortune's Don't Fear the Reaper. I guess if anybody knows Blue Oyster Cult, the first song that comes to your head, thanks to the Saturday Night Live skit, is Don't Fear the Reaper. You know, more cowbell. Yeah. And that's the first album and I believe it's the only album that's gone platinum. The other albums have only gone gold. And it's funny also, too, I would say the 4 most popular singles by Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper, Burnin' For You, Godzilla, Astronomy. Those are on 4 separate albums, and those are the only albums that certify out of their top 10. They're their first 10 albums. So, Secret Treaties certifies. Goes gold. Agents of Fortune goes platinum, biggest hit. Spectre's got Godzilla on it. It goes gold. It certifies. Mirrors, no certification, and I can kind of see why. It's not. Mirrors is my least favorite Blue Oyster Cult album. Cultosaurus erectus, nothing. Doesn't certify. Fire of Unknown Origin, well, it's got Burnin' For You on it, so it certifies. But it only goes gold. And of course, obviously, it's got Veteran of the Psychic War, which is the song on the heavy metal soundtrack. And again, my personal favorite album, not the best Blue Oyster Cult album, but my personal favorite is Fire of Unknown Origin. By the time we get to Revolution by Night, nothing. You know, they got videos on MTV, nothing. Club Ninja, nothing. Joan Crawford also was on Fire of Unknown Origin. That was a big hit too. Club Ninja, nothing. Imaginos also, although I'm not going to include it. Imaginos didn't certify after that. So Blue Oyster Cult really didn't certify much. So and as popular as they are, and you know, sometimes they become memes, they become butt of jokes, they become Saturday Night Live skits. This is a very, very big band, big cult band. Hence the name, Blue Oyster Cult. They're a band for certain types of people, and me being one of them. I couldn't tell you the exact type of person that is, because I can barely even identify myself as far as identifying other people. I would say probably if you love rock, if you like science fiction, you like horror. You know, I'm not a big horror fan, but I like Blue Oyster Cult horror just because I find it different. It's a different kind of horror. If you like that type of thing, Blue Oyster Cult, you're probably a Blue Oyster Cult fan. But again, this is the least successful band of my 4 favorite bands. So that was very interesting. Last but not least is Cheap Trick. Now, Cheap Trick, for the most part, all through every 70s album, with the exception of the first album, which really doesn't have a hit on it, they all certified. And they all certified pretty decently. They've had 3 platinum albums. Actually 4 platinum albums. You want to count Lap of Luxury in '88. But you had the first album, no certification, so no real hit on it, kind of falls flat. In Color comes out, same year, but they've got I Want You to Want Me, which becomes big. And then Heaven Tonight, which is probably their best album, is Heaven Tonight. I don't know. For me, it's a toss-up between Dream Police and Heaven Tonight. Maybe I like Dream. It just depends. Those 2 albums kind of bleed together for me. But In Color goes platinum. Heaven Tonight goes platinum, which of course has Surrender on it, which is one of their biggest songs. Dream Police with the title track Dream Police, and of course Voices as well is a big song on that. They go platinum. So Cheap Trick's a lot more popular than Blue Oyster Cult. As far as they've sold more albums than Blue Oyster Cult. As far as, because even if pound for pound, I'm going to say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, Lap of Luxury being their 10th album. And I don't have Budokan, Live at Budokan on here. I think Budokan also went platinum. But again, it's a live album. Yeah, outside of, they've got 4 platinum albums here. Blue Oyster Cult only has 1. And the rest of them are gold. With the exception of Busted. Busted is not gold. Busted was silver. I didn't really like Busted. I was so worked up for an '88 for Lap of Luxury, so when Busted came out, I was like, yeah, another Cheap Trick album. I just didn't like it. And then in the '94, I did get Wake Up With a Monster. I just don't like that album, and it didn't certify. So, and then the '80s got like All Shook Up. It went gold, but I don't really like it that much. One on One is okay. That went gold. I think I like Next Position Please just because I like She's Tight and what's the other one? Shit, I can't think of the name of it. There's another song on there I really like. Again, these are non-Tom Peterson albums too, the bass player. But Next Position Please, What on One went gold. Next Position Please did not go gold. Didn't certify at all. Standing on the Edge, nothing. The Doctor, nothing. They come back and they go platinum with Lap of Luxury. And I think the only reason they certified with Busted is just because they're still riding the popularity of Lap of Luxury. The Flame was... I don't know what's more popular, Surrender, Dream Police, or the song The Flame. Probably, if you want to count like pop with normies, I think The Flame probably is the most popular. So here's the other thing, though, you got to consider when it comes to these, and I find it's kind of like a weird, not a catch-22 is not the best thing to describe it, but you got to think, if something's been out for 40, 30 years, right, you would think it'd sell more albums over time than something that was only been out for 20 years, right? But you would think, when did it go, or when did it become popular? Because then you would think, okay, maybe the reason, you would think that if a lot of people became fans when something gets popular, like say in the 80s when Lap of Luxury comes out, a lot of people, this is probably the first time they ever heard of Cheap Trick, they became fans. Does that mean that those fans are going to go back and buy Dream Police and Surrender and Heaven Tonight or Live at Budokan? Maybe not. I think, so it's like weird. It's like you would think that, I don't think they're mutually exclusive, I guess would be the word. Or they are mutually exclusive. Sorry, I never know how that saying works. But anyways, you would think, my point was, you think over time an older album has more time to marinate, has more time to sell more albums because it'd be reprinted, and then if there's still demand for it, 20, 30 years later, it's still selling. A lot of these have been reissued on vinyl and they're still selling, so there just becomes, the longer an album's been out, the longer it's been time to, to sell. But then, when something comes out super popular and it's later in the game and it just trounces the old stuff, then I guess that kind of goes out the window. But again, I was just interested when I saw the guy's video and I saw when I talk about the top 10 most successful bands by album sales, I just got to thinking, I wonder what some of the bands that I like, what they did in album sales. And now I know. And again, when I was writing these down, looking these up, I was just a lot of head scratching, like, really? Okay. I thought, out of these four bands, I thought by far Kiss would have more certifications and have gone diamond, I would think, or more times platinum. None of these bands have gone diamond. So it shows you that my taste in music is definitely not popular music, because as popular as these four bands are to the fans that exist, in the grand scheme of things, to normies, to Joe Sixpack, to everybody, to teenage girls, which, is a huge, a buyer of music. I gotta say that, they don't, I like pretty obscure bands. Like I said, the most popular band I like being Kiss, but if you look at their numbers, they're not as popular as you think they are. Like I said, they only have one album that's gone double platinum. I think they're take it back. I was going to say the only band that's gone double platinum. No, Moving Pictures went 5 times platinum. So, and I think 2112 went 3 times platinum. So, two of their second album is trounced Kiss. I would not have thought that. Like I said, I would have thought that Kiss would be a lot more popular than Rush, but apparently that's not the case when you look at record sales. And again, I don't know if Cheap Trick's got a huge cult. I guess they do. Yeah, I guess they do. But I would say out of these four bands, all of these bands are built on the cult following of their cult status. And again, all of them are pretty obscure when you talk about popular music. And I like that. I like not liking the most popular thing. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm better than everybody else because I like stuff that's better than your Taylor Swift. That's not the case. That's not why I like it. I like it because even Kiss, as corporatized as they were, right, and as greedy and money hungry as Stanley and Simmons are, right, you gotta give them some credit that they didn't go batshit crazy corporatized, and they're not. I think Kiss likes to think of themselves in that realm of corporatization of music, whether it's the Rolling Stones, U2, the Eagles. That, I'm talking about, that overly, made it into the corporate, kingdom of heaven there, as far as, that type of thing. But, I think Kiss likes to think themselves in that realm, which their music definitely is not that great. I love it, but it's not that great. And again, Kiss actually is another band like Cheap Trick where they don't play overly complicated things, and I like that because it's more fun. People, argue it's like, well, yeah, it's just easier to play. Yeah, but when it's easier to play and it sounds fun to play, you have more fun playing the guitar. I would rather pick up a guitar, start playing a song, and have fun, and have a smile on my face, and be like, I'm having a blast, than be like, frustrated that I can't learn every note, that the song's too hard, and just aggravated and, constantly stressed out, and, I'd rather I'm playing easy stuff that's fun than just be this, bundle of angst and zeit that I can't figure the songs out. And that's the way I kind of am with like Yes stuff. I can't play Yes stuff to save Steve Howe stuff. I can't play to save my life. I'm just now starting to finally figure out the old Rush, whether it's the Fly By Night album, it's Farewell to the Kings. I'm starting to realize that as great as the stuff is, and with all the time signature changes, that a lot of the straightforward stuff that Alex Lifeson was putting out, which is my favorite stuff, is not as daunting as you think it is. And a lot of his stuff does get repetitive, where he's using a lot of the same chord choices a lot, and a lot of the same riff choices, just changing them up a little bit, but he makes it fresh. And, and I like that. And like I said, and just the sounds and stuff, and like I said, go listen to The Necromancer off of Caress of Steel. I know the album gets hate. Listen to that song, and listen to his guitar playing on it. Again, Farewell to the Kings, I mean, that's kind of a given. 2112 is a given, Listen to his guitar playing on there. I know Geddy Lee's great bass player, but just put Geddy Lee aside and put Neil aside. I mean, we know that they're great, but just listen to Alex is playing. And I don't know, if it is subjective, but to me it really stands out, and I realize that, as much as I idolized Geddy Lee and wanted to play bass for so many years, and as much as I idolized Neil and wanted to play drums for so many years, and always kind of kicked Alex to the side as, he's the third guy in the band. I gotta say, going back and listening to the stuff, he's my favorite. I got to a certain point in my life and really listened to the music, and Alex is my favorite musician in Rush. And I gotta say, probably one of my favorite guitar players of all time. I love Rick Nielsen, love Ace Frehley, love Buck Dharma, I love Eric Bloom, I love those guys in Blue Oyster Cult. I just love that sound. I mean, that to me, call me dated or call me living in the past, but that's just that sound and that time period, that very short time period. 1970, when I was born, 1973 to, like 1979, 1980. I mean, that time period. Absolutely love the music. Favorite time period of all times. I mean, even just things that I've never even experienced, that I've only experienced in my imagination. Speaking of Blue Oyster Cult, like I said, when you go down the street and you look over and you see like a bunch, like a cemetery, like an old beaten up cemetery with like patina and bird shit all over the gravestones and stuff, but there's a couple of ornate stones in that yard, and it got a certain look because of the trees and the way like the weather and the sky and the sunset, or maybe it's a sunset, maybe it's overcast, just the way that the lights, the sky is peeking through the trees. If maybe there's a clearing, or like a gazebo, or like I keep thinking of Warsaw Park. Just think of like a tent type of like a gazebo, giant tent carousel thing, like in like a hidden park, and with just this really weird, dream state weather ambiance to the thing, in a nice warm breezy day, in the summertime. That's Blue Oyster Cult to me. So, like I said, Cheap Trick. I mean, here's the other thing, and I'll leave you on this. This is one of the things I was trying to talk about with my friend. I said, one of the reasons I like these 4 bands, and I think Cheap Trick even mentioned this in a video, or an interview, is all of these characters, and I say characters in these bands, they're all comic book characters. I mean, obviously Kiss are, larger than life. They're characters, They're not just musicians, they're not just celebrities, they're comic book characters. They're not superheroes per se, but you know what I'm saying when I say comic, it doesn't mean superhero, but a comic book character. Cheap Trick, Rick Nielsen, comic book character. Blue Oyster Cult, they're comic book characters. Rush, especially in the 70s with the robes and everything, comic book characters. And I love comics, obviously. It's my first love. So my second love being music, and it's only normal that I think of my hero, the people that are from my favorite bands, as being comic book characters set in the comic book universe, and then add all of the science fiction and horror and fantasy, and add all that together into it. A lot of singing about hobbits in the Shire, and Mordor and Gollum, and a lot of singing about Rivendell and the Elrod's house, and the elves. A lot of singing about Nosferatu and Romeo and Juliet, and it's all of that, just whatever that is, whatever that world is, the conglomeration of weird. I can't even put it into words, really. I mean, maybe I have put it into words, but just all of that just kind of sucks me in, and I'm like, oh, I really like this. It's like my happy place. I go to my happy place. All right. So I just wanted to mention that in this video. I want to put this video out. Like I said, I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately, but this one I thought maybe it'd be interesting to kind of relay some of this information to people and see what they think. I'm probably not going to do a crazy, stupid, clickbaity thumbnail on this one. I know it is what it is, right? I guess I'll put something on there, but maybe I'll just talk about my favorite bands that are certifications or something. I'll come up with something. All right, like I said, click on everything. I know you guys won't, because nobody ever does, but I do enjoy the comments, so those I am enjoying. So keep those coming as well, even if they're negative ones. And I will catch you on whenever I make the next video. All right, bye-bye.